me, and I have a title. You can arrange to get these kids some units from listening to me bloviate. Let's do that.
Did they?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was, a lot going on. I guess the good news was that we only really saw like 5 Trump signs the whole way across the country.
Oh, wow.
Which is so many fewer than last time.
That is surprising.
We also did get stopped and questioned about national origin.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Really?
What state are you in?
Mexico. Well, on any given day in any given town I am, unless you really know what you're looking
Oh,
for.
yeah.
Yeah.
Really neutral. It was a lot. I dig the shoes.
Thank you.
I know, me too.
I almost wore boots that I kind of thought they'd be.
They're
They're
Converse.
these are Converse. This is the commercial portion of our reading.
That is really cool. My kid's going to.
This reading is supported by Converse. I wish. But no, they are Converse, which is really exciting because they're actually commercial.
My kid's going to her homecoming dance in her Converse tonight in a dress. She doesn't wear dresses really, so it's just crazy how it all works out.
I thought about a dress just to see if anybody was paying attention.
Here.
Again, you wouldn't want to alarm the public.
Katie.
Hi. Hi, Katie. Hi, Katie.
This is Elisa and Kim and Ingrid and Jerry and Steven. That's the people that I know. Awesome.
Yeah.
It's exciting I have 2 people that I've known.
When I used to read here, I used to always say there were 3 people who did.
That was Halloween parties too.
Okay, we'll see. What's your name? Okay, Ben, we'll see you.
Of course, I'm never really sure. All innocent holiday party.
Who I know.
I remember about the first 20 people who show up, and after that, I'm like, there were others. Close.
Talk about kids. We can get you some. Can't get all of them. Get you some. We're going to start reading in a couple of minutes, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Should we start? Or are
I
you waiting?
guess this could be, I don't know, Phoebe's really showing up, so
Okay.
we'll keep
You
going.
want to start?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll
Okay, let me
do
make
you
you
wanna
visible to the
say
world
anything
here.
for me to say something?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I do this 3 times a month. No special yearning for a microphone.
But no necessarily like horror of microphones either. This is a really nice microphone.
It is, it's really
That's
good.
crazy. I'm not used to nice microphones. I know. That's exciting. Well, thank you all for coming. We are here to celebrate Colossus Current, which is our new anthology. Thank you, Elisa. And it's really exciting. We have a bunch of readings this week. So this is our inaugural reading for the week, and that's really exciting. I thought I'd first talk about Holy H2O, which is the nonprofit that much of the proceeds from this book are going to support. Holy H2O is a Bay Area-based nonprofit that focuses on developing the community's relationship with our local watersheds. I was really excited when we started finding out more about them because I do think that our interpersonal relationship with the environment around us is a really important thing, and that's not a way I think that we often think about our environment. It is something that we are in relationship with, And I love thinking about it that way because then I think about how we can have a wonderful reciprocal relationship with our beautiful watershed that we have here. So I'm really excited to support them. We have a bunch of great poets reading tonight. And let's see, who would like to go first?
Pick somebody.
Okay, Elisa. I know that's what I want to say. I wanted to thank both Kim Shuck and Elisa Salasin, my co-editors, and I really wanted to thank Doug Salin, who did like so many things, but particularly the layout editing, and has his beautiful photograph as the cover. And Doug and I spent hours and hours and hours on the phone working on different parts of this book, and all of those hours were actually really fun. So thank you so much, Doug. And let's start with Elisa. Elisa Salasin has had her poetry, essays, and op-eds and photography published in Colossus Freedom and Colossus Body. AMP, Always Electric, the SF Public Library Poem of the Day, Sparkle and Blink, Counterpunch, and the Bay Area Writing Project's digital paper. Her chapbook, She Watches Wild Horses, is available from Finishing Line Press, and she is one of my co-editors. Thank you.
So I do want to adjust that mic. It'll be a little nicer if it's a little closer.
All right.
So are you going to stand or sit?
I'm going to stand.
Okay, let's bring this up, tilt this way, get it up a little higher, just because it doesn't get so echoey if it's closer.
Okay.
Bear with me.
Thank you.
That's probably going to be a
It's also a
better.
privilege to have the mic adjusted for me. Hi, everyone. I don't actually have a piece in Colossus Current, but I'm going to start by reading someone else's piece, and then I'll read one of my own after that. So I'm going to read a piece that was written by two folks, actually, Kelly Terwilliger and Eve Mueller from Oregon. And I'm going to read an excerpt from a book-length project titled Water Questions. Each month for a year, Kelly and Eve swam together in a wild body of Oregon water and then wrote about it. Skinny dipping and researching the ecology and human history of the water, they immersed themselves. They didn't know each other well when they started, so this project is also about building a midlife friendship. For the first 8 months of the project, they wrote back and forth to each other and then later experimented with co-writing. And the excerpt I'm going to read is from October, so fairly far on into that year-long project. And it's called Mouth of the Sixes River, and this is one that was co-written by Eve and Kelly. We will swim at the mouth of the river, where tides reverse. I confess I fear being swept out to sea. I want to reassure you the ripples are wind, not current. I like feeling the ocean nearby, old, giant, muffled roar. It smells like home here along the ragged shore, rotting seaweed, pungent decay. We leave tracks in the sand, gather stones. We were children on this coast once, each of us separate. We skirt the edge of the river, a whole day of drawing closer before going in. Cranberry bogs, bright as blood, old campers sunk in weeds, the neighbor burning trash, small, bright inferno. Cows down in the pastures by the river, moving around, slow, steady, and the dark and pointed spruces, the old heads of yarrow, gray and twisted as old wrists. Headland, cliff, steep with hidden pocket coves, waves batter the rocks. Violence haunts this place. 20 Quantumas slaughtered by white settlers. Did the ocean run red as the bogs? The river spits out trunks of trees, remnants of gold mining dust, bodies of dead birds carried down from the Klamath Mountains, the grassy knob wilderness to the east, river of coast cutthroat, marbled murrelets, Roosevelt elk. It enters the Pacific at this wind-swept westernmost point of Oregon. I wish to see the animals we read about on lists of things gone missing. Herds, flocks, gatherings of creatures thick with life. Quietly we approach the water, the wild, dry grasses mounded like the backs of goats. We wade through them, come upon a narrow finger of water. Ophelia fills my mind, her drowned face ringed with wildflowers. Aster, cow parsnip, Scotch broom, the yellow of wet hair. I see myself floating, naked among the reeds, but no longer nubile, an Ophelia with stretch marks and wrinkled neck. I want more open water, sky. I urge you further out. We find our footing, two happy specks of animal joy. See how we shine white among the grasses. See how our bodies echo the gnarled bark of driftwood where we stretch our limbs. The water folds around, first in the open place, and then again among the reeds you wanted. It's deeper here in the secret channel. I'm the animal people passing by do not see. Isn't it funny, putting on our clothes, how suddenly our feet are muddy again when they'd just been feet before? Now I walk out to where men stand fishing from sandy banks. A seal cavorts in the foam of the surf. More appear in the river's mouth, gliding in the smooth curve, moving between worlds. In this meeting place of river, tide, blurring place, for the seal, it is all swimming place. Soft river, moiling ocean, the two swirl and churn where they collide. I imagine my body sucked down, disappearing, death by water. A part of me wishes it. I want to live. I want to be the seal, diving into the churn and slipping through it, riding the gleamy inside of the curve, becoming an arch of wave. Swimming into the calm of the river and out again. I can't, but I dream it. Are we aiming for the same thing? Covered up now are crustacean shells of parkas and boots. The wind is gone, no more ruffled water. The river's mouth a quiet mirror of sky and snags and men in skiffs. The water gentle as a mother. I was wrong to be afraid. We could have swum anywhere between our cabin and the river's maw. Beautiful sand like tiny black beads, the green glass curl of waves rolling in, the pounding on the slope of beach. Here, the gulls mass near the river's mouth. We approach and they lift off, hundreds, leaving the dark sand empty of everything but a beached sea lion we hadn't noticed. It shakes its massive head. We turn away, give it privacy to sleep or dream or grieve or die or find its way back to water. And again, that's Kelly Terwilliger and Eve Mueller's work in that piece. So I'm just going to read one more poem. I searched in my archives for a water-related poem, and I had quite a few, but many of them were not very hopeful, and I wanted to read something a little more hopeful right now. So this is my offering for you. The Fountain. A carpet of submerged pennies glimmers in the fountain. Strewed ground of hidden wishes. Ecosystem of desire, each coin a heart. There a woman reaches for her own unspoken wishes. The woman closes eyes, tosses coin, palunk, it lands in the crowd of burnished copper dreams. Penny glittered redemption, promise. Climb in, the coins call, climb in to our panoply of wishes. She steps over the wall. She walks into the fountain. Its blossoming plumes of sheet-shifting water pour down her body. The dreams of others seep through her feet, saturated with wishes. The woman stands in her own tsunami of air, cyclone of breath, nourished by arcing droplet and light. She feels her hungry longing. She gathers and gulps, glinting and shining wishes. There she remains, the woman in the fountain, now filled to bursting with riotous dreams, fertilized a new horizon. Aspirations sprout from her body, tendrilled vines and growing wishes. A crowd gathers around the fountain, entranced by its flourishing, and one by one each person steps into the water, roots down through hope, interconnected and fecund, our jungle of wishes. Thanks.
I'm good. Thank you, Elisa. So our next reader is D.S. Black. He is an archives whisperer by day and a psalm biographer of the night. He came from what was then, before climate change, the Great White North to California by way of Chicago in the 1980s. To realize the utopian dream, he has proposed a referendum for Cascadian secession, incorporated by in an incorporation of the Western states as Baja Canada. Welcome.
How y'all doing? All right. Thank you.
Okay.
No, that's wonderful. All right, great to be here. So I'm going to read two pieces. One of them is in the collection, and kudos to the editors and to the publication, and so thrilled to be here. This piece is prose, and even though it starts with plastic, it's plastic and water. So, plastic scenes in jest and gyre. Flashing back to the 1970s, isn't it beautiful? What does it mean? You're soaking in it. These are lines from Mary Hartman and Madge, who was a TV commercial manicure sage. Plastic is a substance that not only pushes our buttons, it is the medium making button pushing possible. What if all buttons have the same fatal effect, regardless of how, if, and when they are pressed, simply by virtue of being plastic? Plastic is universal, and today we can see the extent to which this petroleum-based substance in all its myriad forms has metastasized into a massively distributed doomsday device, fast approaching the fail-safe point. After cars and soaring carbon release, with power grids pulsating sympathetically in tune with a mortal Medusa frequency, plastics are an all-pervasive symptom of a world poisoned by the abuse of a no longer abstract finitude, fossil fuels. Besides global warming, weird weather, and resource exhaustion, the soup we're in is larded with plastics that are durable and prolific pollutant. After less than 200 years of burgeoning omniplasticity, plastic refuse threatens to overwhelm large ecosystems. In the North Pacific Gyre, variously known as the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, Pacific Trash Vortex, and North Pacific Garbage Patch, marine waste is concentrated at record levels, with the predominant substance befouling the surface water, plastic in its many forms. This synthetic, subcontinent-sized cesspool of plastics is a symptom of a life-threatening nature. It is a soup, a stew of junk, more goulash, I should say, than bouillon, suspended in a mixmaster spin of ocean currents. situated between Los Angeles and Hawaii, is an ever-densifying jumble of discarded material with microplastics small enough to be mistaken for plankton. Plastic debris swirls nebulous but lethal in an area estimated at 620,000 square miles, vast as Iran or more than 2 Texases. It's big, and perhaps you don't want to mess with it, but to ignore this mass is to court disaster. The gyre of circular motions is a vortex that sucks in any flotsam and jetsam that blow from landfills and wind up in a thickening gumbo of nurdles, 6-pack loops, water bottles, shopping bags, and other material witnesses of reckless abuse of this, our only planet. 'Twas brillig and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wave. All mimsy were the borogroves and the mome raths out grabe. That's Lewis Carroll's Jabberwocky. If nurdle sounds like a word out of Lewis Carroll, it would have confounded him to learn it is a plastic pellet less than 5 millimeters in diameter. The problem is they're never singular, with 250,000 tons believed to enter marine environment annually. Suspended in water, these colorful blobs are bomblets lobbed against the environment, mistaken for food by marine life and ingested in turn upwards the food chain. Seeing the raw expeditions as a school kid in the early 70s, I remember the hardened globules of oil Tor Heyerdahl and his sailors encountered in the course of their docudramatic voyage. These frequent reminders of industrial civilization would have been unknown to the Phoenicians or North Africans whose reed ships Heyerdahl painstakingly recreated millennia after their heyday. Plastics, when alienated from the culture that produced them, represent the range of consumer choice and commodity appetites. They are key indicators, and despite a tendency to move downwind and downstream, are never really gone. In 2007, San Francisco became the first U.S. city to ban plastic shopping bags. Perhaps just a drop in the ocean, but it was a step in the right direction. A statewide ban on single-use plastic bags was passed by the California legislature in 2014, supported by voters in a referendum in 2016. In 2026, a ban on all plastic shopping bags in California will go into effect. Take that with a grain of salt. They seem to be diluting these bans over the years. The nonprofit Ocean Cleanup Organization in 2024 reported it collected 11 million kilograms of marine trash in its first 11 years. 7 months later, it collected 20 million kilograms. By 2040, it aims to clean up 90% of floating ocean plastic pollution. It's not too late to trip over the true consequences of our action. The sense of negligence and deadly dereliction implicit in the gyre's garbage patch. Only by tamping down greed and the concomitant effluent of our acquisitive impulses can we hope to pull back from oblivion. All right, well, that is plastic and water. But today, being No King's Day, I will take notice of that fact. I, in fact, have a poem on that occasion, if I may. It has a little interaction at the beginning. No kings. Knock, knockety knock.
Who's there?
King Nunu. King no, like nobody's business. L'état c'est moi. I am the cheese, the biggest hunk of curdled milk to ever stink this ship of fools, golden metropole. Here's thinking I'll take one with everything. If ever there was a sign of imperial decadence. Then read these sinners' lips, semper sic transit tyrannus, gloria mundi. Let no king's protest be prima facie evidence that these here disunited states are of an America whose civil war never ended, and marrow sucked to the bone, where carpet teabaggers in the cabinet praise whackless tantrums of a toddler-in-chief, sowing chaos with every step that pits states against each other, shredding posse comitatus protections for citizens from a military crackdown on civil society. so cray-cray at 249 years into this great American experiment. One fears to vote in gerrymandered elections. Mockery is made, dismayed. What was intended to be a republic, if we can keep it, needs to be said, repeated, and amplified ad nauseum throughout the land's grand mall. See to shining seizures. No kings, no Führers, no czars. Oh, and to be clear, Kaisers on the health plan. No fucking emperors, no dictators, no Pontifex Maximi in waiting. No Goebbels, no Goering, nor Himmler-enabled sycophants like the rogues gallery of fascist eugenicists who can and should fuck off forever. N.O. spells no to Sachs, Thiel, Carson, Kirk, Loomer, Miller, and Yarvin for starters. No dickwad, ubu-esque, uber-mentioned, pedophile, xenophobe bozos on this bus. No Bezos, Musk, Ellison, Benioff, or Zuck billionaire babies on this bus. Furthermore, never should the free have to bend knee or kiss the soiled ring of a coprophagic kleptocacistocracy, skid-marked, pea-stained resident of the aptly named White House that treats history like a dry erase board. Just say no to any pusillanimous potentate, pox-ridden megalo-maga minions of division and separation. Do, re, mi, together. Love rocks harder than hate. Fa, sol, la, ti. We won't give in, give up, or accept any feculent excreta passing for plate of plenty. Our cornucopia draws all colors of mutual aid, understanding who bring open arms, shared breath to the table, savor a horn of plenty. Victoria Muerte, courage, my love. Shall we embrace our fate? If eyes wide shut, the memory hole dilates, trafficking human lives into dead souls. The zombie economy won't stop, won't let go yet. People matter more than the rich, which is why we are just getting started. P.S. And not so pretty, please. Release the fucking Epstein files! Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. I was thinking, I was at the No King's March in Oakland, and I was thinking there really needed to be some poetry there because it just really was missing that, honestly. And I do think poetry should be everywhere, but in that moment I was like, it's just too much. We need a poet. So they needed some kind of poetic break in that program. But anyway, we're having ours now. So our next reader is Ingrid Keir. Ingrid is a poet, curator, and publisher of Feather Press, an independent women's literary press. She is co-founder of Word Party, a long-running San Francisco poetry and jazz series. Ingrid taught undergraduate creative writing at San Francisco State University and has featured at the DeYoung Museum, the Beat Museum, Quiet Lightning, and SF City Hall. She has several chapbooks: The Secrets of Like, 2004, Toward Light, 2007, and The Choreography of Nests, 2016. Recent publications include Dash Literary Journal, Two Hawks Quarterly, Sparkle and Blank, and The Hot Tub Astronaut.
I just like that one.
Yeah, that's a great one. In 2016, she was shortlisted for the Litquake Poetry Contest. So welcome, Ingrid.
You don't ever have a bio, ever, right? It's nice to see you all. Actually, Eric, I love this store. I love Eric. I love the community. And this is where I had a book launch once and just really, appreciate all of you, especially reading to poets. So, and I'm also just really honored that, I'm mainly write about love. So I was really excited that I was encouraged to apply. And so I have a poem in here that is, I'll read, called Aqueous. The octopus likes to taste skin when she says hello. She orients by suction, a tentacle wrapped around an arm, a slippery hug, or a handshake. I understand this. Every time I meet my lover, I want to touch him. Will he radiate lightness or shadow? Sometimes held by the soft purr of a kitten, later an Irish stone wall. Secrets left unsaid beneath the greenery. Ancient Gaelic chants rise as I circumambulate Brú na Bán. A metronome heartbeat, somatic footsteps. I fumble through a vision quest. My tender arms plead, one more taste. Life's paradox, you cannot force bloom. Consider the salty tides, the constant push-pull of the moon cycle, her aqueous body a plum upon a platter of stars. So I have a manuscript that I'm going to read a little bit from, but I'm trying to thread the needle here a little bit on the water theme. So I'm also doing 30-30 right now, so I'm going to read some rough stuff that's not really, I don't care. We're going to do it. This one's called Riders on the Storm. At the mouth of the bay, they say it begins. Wind tunnels across brick-colored towers, suspension steel vortex. I hear the haunting howl of the ancients when I drive across in a fiendish California storm. Slalom my way up to the top of Hawk Hill, peregrine wing flash, in the race across this unseen force. Close eyes, recall I am born of gale and tempest, waterfall and lure, across oceans, Storm Amy slams the Atlantic, extratropical intensity. I recall the time we fought, plate across the wall, tooth rattle, bone crash, spray sloshed up over our entire relationship no seawall could contain. Immortal. One must guard secrets, precious, a good line of poetry, the garden gathering its April energy to bloom, the hundreds of beached by the wind sailors. Their sapphire and clear aqueous bodies laid out like a river near the cliffs of my favorite beach. What message are they giving with their self-sacrifice, with this memento mori? I consider the immortal jellyfish, who may have lived 1 billion years, who pulls herself into herself when times get tough. We began as jellyfish, mitochondria traveling carefully down the mother line, a living lineage through war, persecution, famine, plague, still persevering. When I want to fold myself into myself, regress back to the beginning to try again, slowly open to life and its cycles, I call on the jellyfish to show me the way. Okay, so the prompt for this one is you had to have a really long title. And the title is, Here's Another Poem About the 2025 Equinox Eclipse Because, honey, it is hot in here and shit just keeps getting more and more real. You walk along a southern hemisphere shore. Auckland seagulls scream with the urgency of a car alarm blare, unlike Cali gulls. Today's partial eclipse, moon na, blot in the sky, sickle carves its way across morning sunbeam. What will come, crashing into your life like that streak of fiery space garbage across the inky sky? Will you burn from unmet desires, ash erupting across hemispheres? So there's a very famous poem by Allen Ginsberg that's called A Supermarket in California. And so I'm writing as if I'm writing my own supermarket in California letter or poem. So it's called An Organic Grocery Store in Marin County, after Allen Ginsberg. What thoughts I have of you, Allen Ginsberg, as I saunter across the smooth asphalt, diagonal lines wave like dominoes collapsing into flawless harmony. Fluorescent whir, a diabolic hot bar percolates like Kilauea's last breath before it blowholes an arc across the scuffed laminated floor. Pumpkin spice flotilla piled high, seasonal succulents, Dunkin' Donuts creamer, Twinkies and fall granola. What were you doing there, Walt Whitman? I saw you under the gourd-flavored cookies and waffle mix, your beard a guiding compass toward the collective nutmeg hoax. My taste buds still flicker from the summer stone fruit delicacies of peaches and of penumbria, tart cherry pie, sorbetto, and cobbler. I slip myself out of bed into the Morrigan's crow call, changing clocks, brittle leaf piles as the sun sinks lower and lower into ancestor season. It is ancestor season for those of us who are following that. I'm Celtic, so my dad's from Scotland and is an immigrant. So we have a saying called fire in the head, which is basically being able to be a seer. And so I wrote this poem about an ancestor that I found in, basically Scotland has released all of the names of women that they have and men that they have persecuted over the years as witches. So it's called Fire in the Head. At first it's a simple whisper, almost inaudible to the ear, like the hum of a satellite floating between the stars, the call that awakens you nightly at 4:33 a.m., one that begs you to come back, return to the bonniest land, don't be feared. You can hear them, the female voices, their songs of loss keening in the dark, visions of octopus phalanges spread wide, Medusa's misinterpreted glow. Requiem for the trials, caress of the ancestors, psalm of remembrance. When you found her name, Isabel Keir, in the Survey of Scottish Witchcraft, trial date March 23rd, 1659, your bones rattled with recognition. This is who wakes you, resplendent whispers. Remember, remember, bonny lass, I am your lineage. Even then it was a war against women. The war still burns. Methods updated to control your body, sovereignty. Isabel, charges of sorcery, anti-baptism, maleficium. 7 female accusers, 12 male. Let's re-mythologize your life from the recesses of my DNA. Thank you for giving me life. I thin the veil. I call the dead forth. I clooty with golden cloth. Your lace wing flutter, fay your family, feather your fear. I hear you, bonny lass, your soft voice a purr in the wind. Thank you.
Thank you, Ingrid. So our next reader is also one of our editors and also a really good friend of mine. Kim Shuck is a silly protein, a poet, and the 7th poet laureate of San Francisco Emerita. Publication protocols being what they are, Shuck has authored between 12 and 9 solo books and participated in editing, contributed to, and co-authored a substantial number of others. Kim is one of the inaugural I don't know why I said that weird, National Poet Laureates who is honored by the Academy of American Poets. She is also friends with at least one Raven, and her most recent book of poems is Pick a Garnet to Sleep In. Welcome, Kim.
I think this is probably perfect. Well, I'm going to sit, but I think it makes it more perfect.
Oh, really? All right. Yes.
What do you think?
That's perfect.
Fabulous. Isn't perfection fun? Okay. I usually suggest that people read short, which I will not be doing this afternoon. But I'm not reading my own work, so I feel a little justified in that. These are all poems. Until the last one, they're all poems from the book. Machine Win, Ocean Lament. Seabirds found on the shore, plastic knots around necks. I survived the Boxing Day tsunami in 2004. Guilt haunts. Crowns, bones, skulls, soaked satin cloaks. Danu, goddess of primordial waters, sings when the ocean was clear, clear blue. From the third floor of the temple, we see the waters rising below, dark and fast and cold. Snakes swimming around our legs. Can't find my black sandals. Before humans arrived, the coral and dolphin, seaweed, and sharks were free of disease. A week after we returned to the ashram, I searched for a family and their hut where I'd buy half a coconut every morning. We will emerge in another place. On the ocean floor are old cars and shipping containers. Can only find in the mud a child's red plastic sandal. Danu, in Lament. This one's by Molly Fisk. American River, 1. The sound of 1,000 separate sounds made anew by different water, not the water we paddled through, which is far downstream, slapping the rocks of our afternoon. The lower rapids gurgle high, while the upper echo a deeper tone. Nothing is singular, everything here is a multitude, simultaneous and explosion, percussive and sparkling, song of 1,000 remembered rivers, rasp of 1,000 shifted stones. 2. Alder and willow, and up a little farther on the hill, sugar pine's lacy outline, always oaks, and the dry brown grass of a western summer. 2 little tweedledee birds in the bush. I wouldn't know even if I held them in my hands. The way birdsong sounds like metal scraping briefly against something hard, lapping backwater, rocking the boat, and blackberries, the eating of which brings us back to the folds of our brothers and sisters, the sweet-toothed bears. Air, quick against skin recently drenched with emerald river, the white flowers of rapids to come, blossoming, blossoming. 3. The merganser says, not now, and hunkers closer to her rock, mid-river, her red neck and head indivisible from granite, her buff breast feathers unseen, 3 turtles on a log, motionless until the very last minute. Not here, they grumble, and slide under green glass. An oar parts their log's reflection. Not me, whispers the brown trout, switching his tail faster than sight and ducking under a shelf into the dim reaches, and the alder leaves flicker in a hot July breeze. Listen, listen. One of the things I really like about editing is that you get to make poetry out of a series of other people's poems. And I really enjoy that, and I'm reading them all out of order, but it's a pretty great book. This one's by Carolyn Goodwin, the former poet laureate of San Mateo County, in fact, their first poet laureate. Coppice, when the sandhills touch down, they are simple fingertips, or the sting of your absence and salt rot where the rust-colored bark stands in thin layers, and you call me back through the thicket, bluebells and understory, mottled feathering. Out like fingers of silt in the river valley, duplerite simmering. A hydrocarbon found in some peat beds, amorphous and jelly-like when fresh and elastic when dried, looking like black pitch or wintering, lattice-like branches, the star-like seed pods of the birches underfoot. Now this path, where you and I walked along lake beds, the rushes here shining, it's evening, it's the last word in the doorframe at least, Its loving is a faraway whistling and sleepy snow, soft and melting, your palm warm again against my cheek. This one's by Janetta Calhoun-Mish, former poet laureate of Oklahoma. And Janetta and I have a long, long history. She actually knows where all the bodies are buried, but then so do I, so nobody's talking. Navigation. Nervous system tracings of rivers before dams to map water courses is to diagram human hands running in fingers to deltas. Neosho, Kaw, Cimarron, Verdigris, Arkansas, Chicaskia, the Chickasaw River. Flood flow in spring, summer languid. Call their names, conjure those whose language they carry. Memory exists in nerves, lives in rivers like silver-scaled great horned serpent. Basilisk, who admonishes our failures. Metaphor reminds us that humans subsisted along rivers immemorial. Recall then those dead metaphors. Breathe them back to life. River of time, river of memory, river of life, river of blood, river of song, river of death, river of contempt. Not the same river, not the same woman. Heraclitus' axiom along cat-tailed encumbered bank, honor rivers' meanders. Their currents, our late-night reveries, that roar, crawl along, rush downstream and overflow, leaving mica scales behind. How rivers sometimes get lost. How we all get lost. It wasn't an accident they made her Poet Laureate of Oklahoma. Janetta really can do that. So it is No King's Day. And I thought it was funny. I used to throw a poem up every day on social media. And I stopped doing that because I was working on a book that they kind of wanted to be the first persons to publish anything in the book. And I don't like it. I don't like not putting a poem up every day. So this was a compromise in that it is not a poem. Even though it lays out on a page like one. Change is red of sunrise, moving water, fruit shifting from green into orange of October, thinning veil between this time and all time. Clamoring of ancestors unfolding, flowers, color of aspens, song of migrating birds. Change is standing up for self, neighbors, dusting off an idea of justice, a wind hissing in voices of millions. No, enough. You want me to introduce you? So, Sara Biel, well, let's do it this way. Sara Biel and I met each other putting together a book in 2005, 2006 called Words Upon the Waters, which was a benefit to help people affected by the levee breaks in New Orleans. I will not blame the hurricane because indifference is not the weather. Sara took that idea and has continued with it in the form of Colossus Press. These books are amazing. They benefit people working on the problem mentioned, so they're not just poems, if there's such a thing as just a poem. And she's one of my heroes, as well as one of the co-editors of this volume. Please welcome Sara Biel.
Oh, I think I'll stand.
You're like exactly the same height, but different habits.
Yeah,
All right.
Kim and I are like Almost is exactly the same height. Okay, well, thank you all for coming. And I'm so glad that we got to come together and read poems from this amazing book, because it really is an incredible book. Like, the work and the quality of the poetry and writing in this book is absolutely amazing. I was thinking, as we were all reading some of the poems from it, how many poet laureates are in this book. So there's really some amazing poet laureates. I'm sad that Denise couldn't join us. Denise Low was supposed to come. She's the former poet laureate of Kansas. So we, yeah, and she has an eye problem, and the traffic was supposed to be crazy today. But so I thought I would start with one of my favorite poems from the book by my friend Carla Shuck, who is an amazing poet. And her poem is called At Jabalaya Refugee Camp, 1985. At Jabalaya Refugee Camp, 1985, a young Palestinian girl takes my hand, leads me to her family's patio, points to the camera attached to my backpack, gestures with her hands to snap a photo for eternity. I had remembered a teen smiling, embracing her brothers, her toddler brother roaming the patio, the workroom, the play area. Decades later, I discovered the photo she begged me to take, her eyes squinting into the light slanting through the door, her deep eyes adrift in sorrow that I can't touch. Hand over her mouth, an ancient Ringer washing machine in the background, her two brothers sitting side by side, a dull green-gray wall without refuge. Outside the camp, bulldozers labeled USA knock down huge chunks of plaster walls. A home, but without any proper papers. An entire family stands outside watching. No one can fathom the sea sparkling so close to us as we gather together in this dust of occupation. And I'm so glad that that poem was in this book, because I think water touches everything. It's a part of our bodies. It's a part of our world. It's a part of our air. And it's often, part of all of these conflicts. So it's important. I'm really glad that we're writing about that. So I thought I'd start with a couple. I'm working on this crown of sonnets. And so I thought I'd start with two from that. So this is called Memory of Flight. And the first one is titled An Account of the Fire, Both Inside and Out. That day, the air was soft, an apology still damp, blinking in the scattered threads of morning. Some part of me, a milk tooth or arrhythmia, started to form words, to test their edges against the metal. The daylight tripped, uncanny, its long fingers tapped a nervous friction, the music of gravity. The sun shuddered, stilled. Another poor beast bled dry. I saw her stand, a silhouette against the red edge of the day, a girl-shaped hole I could fill with all the compromise of survival. The tinder beds, the kindling laid bare with every swallowed spark. I heard a small voice call me home. It felt too big, too haunted. The ashy sky collapsed like a torn veil. The unraveling. Haunted, the ashy sky collapsed like a torn veil, left an old, acrid scent, an olfactory tendril. An inkling just shy of memory came to rest gentle claws on my threshold. This curious siren, this door, this umbral offering of new life stretched apparitional arms from the embers. There are times when I feel like a piece of string strung between hollow tin cans. Days I feel a buzz, like some small something just broke loose and waits, not for rescue. It simply waits, clutches the cusp just in case. My past is a patchwork, my heart a creature made solitary by hazard, by the prickling drafts I just can't settle. I opened my gritty, smoke-torn eyes. The blaze leapt. desire confused with destiny. So thanks. That's just the start of it. And so I didn't get to write, I don't have any poems in the book because we were all really busy. But I did eventually write a water-themed poem. And so, and this I wrote thinking about time I spent at Standing Rock in North Dakota. So it's called Falling Through the River War. The river didn't need our names. It held us as we stepped, breath crumbling from our lips into the first afternoon that warmed past freezing. We saw the lights, the black road blocked, red and blue, garish in the winter prairie. Like small mammals, hearts too loud, we turned to shadow, followed our own gravity into the welcome of the switchgrass. There we found old men, or they found us, stories silver as scars, warnings rustled low in their throats, growls they refused to swallow. Firelight cupped the soldier's creased face, but left his heart untouched, a drowned drum in a helicopter war. He asked me to wear his gloves, to put my hands in his. Who's to say that wasn't a kind of magic, the kind that can make you disappear? The sun turned its ruddy face back to the horizon. A storm-colored horse paced on the far shore, its fury a gift, a beacon in the clenching gloom. The thawing bank brittled. Winter settled back on bony haunches. Our voices fell, like the soft beginnings of rain. We talked of distant stars, the lateness of their light, of friends who'd already been taken beyond our reach. We kept our balance, awkward as fledglings, the ice blurring, the darkening sky beneath our feet. And so, because it's New King's Day, and also because this is the poem that I have that is in Colossus Body, which was the previous anthology to Colossus Current, I thought I would read it. This is called Unborn. Unwanted, unlucky, unwed, unknotted, unscripted, unsaid, unburdened, unbidded, unbrushed, unburied, unbroken, unjust, unfolded, unfinished, unmade, unlawful, unbalanced, unpaid, unblemished, unaltered, unarmed, unbuckled, unbridled, unharmed, unbounded, unbuttoned, undone, unspoken, unwoken, unwon, uncommon, unstable, undressed, uncertain, unquiet, unrest, unwelcome, uncivil, unsaid, unlightly, uncommon, unread, unending, unable, untold, unopened, unsettled, unsold, unscripted, unrivaled, unworn, unbitten, unblemished, unborn, unseemly, unkind, uncoiled, untitled, unsigned, unspoiled. Thank you. So we have books to sell, so check them out. And thank you all for coming on this exciting No King's Day. And does Kim have something? She does.
We're also standing in a bookstore. We get to keep what we support. Buy a book, buy two. It's really important to support our independent bookstores.